Okay, basically what I want to do here is just reaffirm on some stuff, then I'll put in some new information. So let's start out with what is going on with this picture here. We look at it and we see that this is the Pentagon. I did another video on the Pentagon, but I think this picture is very expletive, as it explains once again, and it gives credit to my other theories. It shows the jet that was involved supposedly with the Pentagon. If you look closely, you'll see the jet, the picture from behind. But what's really interesting is that it's outlined in red and blue. Now, for those of you that have followed me, red and blue represents time and space. Time and space represents the planet Saturn. That's what it is. It can also represent two political parties. It can represent the male and the female, or it can represent two other entities, one being Hebrew and one being Aryan. We'll just stick I'm saying right now, we'll just stick with the time and space theory that I have, that it's based off of Saturn. Because, well, it round and round, interesting word, it always comes back to Saturn. So, here we have the plane in red and blue. So then we're going to go on to the next picture. Here we have the next picture, and the plane is gone, but we still see the outline. Now you got to ask yourself, why of all the things did this guy, whoever this guy was, see, you never can track these artists down, why did he use red and blue? Why didn't he just use a black outline, a dotted black outline, or you know, just like when they do when somebody's shot, they just outline it. Why would you use red and blue? Because what they're doing is they're telling you that those two colors are associated with Saturn, and it's that worship of that planet, or the technology from that planet allowed this to happen. This is why you cannot find any evidence of a plane being there. You know, you can't find any third-dimensional evidence, but you sure can find fourth-dimensional evidence, which is time, because there's no third-dimensional evidence. So they're telling you again, right here, with their own picture that they put out, that this is based on time and space. Okay, it's time and space. It's Saturn. This is high physics going on here. So let's move on. Now, I'm going to get into some biblical stuff, and before I even start, okay, before I even start, I do not want anybody that's one of these Bible bangers trying to come back with counter verses, because that ain't what this is about. You don't even understand the original verses and who wrote this stuff. See, let me put it to you bluntly. It was the occult that was around before the Christian religion was around. And don't think for a minute that those boys didn't already have a hold on what was the known world, let alone the people that were living out in the boonies that had their own ideas about what it was and their own rituals. So before you think that it was the Christian religion that was around and was infiltrated, you better stop and look at your churches, because they're all constructed by the Masons. All your cathedrals. So don't, you know, the 15th century, the King James Version is written by basically three factions. The Old Testament is Semitic, which is the Semites. There's 13 groups, 13 being the Hebrew number of Saturn. But it's not anti-Jewish, it's not Jewish, it's Semitic. Okay? And then you've got the New Testament, which is Masonic and Vatican. Arian. Okay? So these guys were already around, they were already in power, and they put together the Bible that you learned from. But because you take everything verbatim and don't understand that it's coded, it's high physics, the words need to be broken down, you won't seem to get it. So let's move on. Let's get over to it, because this is very important. It says, I looked, and therefore there was before me was a white cloud, and seated on the clouds was one like a son of man. Remember that sentence? Like a son of man, with a crown of gold on his head, and a sharp sickle in his hand. Revelations 14:14. Okay? Revelation means revelation. Interesting, right? Revelation means a circle. To revolve or to reveal. Okay? So what we have here is like the Son of Man and a sharp sickle. Now, there's only one that looks like that. And in the occult, it's Saturn. Saturn's symbol is a sickle, right next to a crucifix. The life giver. One gives life and the other one takes away. That's the way it's written down, pal. And ladies. But who's the son? What is this like a son of man? Well, let me move on and show you the astrological symbol of Saturn so that we can make sure that we're on the same page here. And here it is here. You can see it's a crucifix and it's got a sickle. So you got the cross, which means life, and then you've got a sickle, as in the Grim Reaper, death. But that's the symbol of Saturn. That is not the symbol of the Creator. Okay? This is a symbol of the God of this planet, which is Saturn. This is not a symbol of Jesus Christ. They only give you the crucifix part, which is really nothing more than an X with an extended side. Well, let's move on to get a look at, it says, so there's the one that will look like a man, or the Son of Man. And this is what the Son of Man would be. Okay, this is an angel. Angel, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel. Always an L at the end of the name because they're from there. Please get it out of your head that these angels are from the Creator. They're from Saturn. Notice angel. And what did it say back there? And I looked, and before there was a white cloud, and seated on a cloud was one like a son of man with a gold crown on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. He looked like a man, and he had a gold crown on his head. You see the gold band? That's the crown. You see the five-pointed star? That's the seal of Cain. Okay, the original murderer. The name Angel. You get it? Do you understand what's going on here? Look at the picture. You see the G? Or what's supposed to be the G? You see how they have a hook on the top side? And on the bottom part of the G? It creates the rings of Saturn. And then the part that looks like a 5 with the lower part of the O crossing across it. This whole thing is, he's talking to an angel. He's talking to Saturn or Satan. Because Satan is the one that has rule over this planet. Okay? This is not talking about the Creator. Now, there's one other thing I want you to look at. Here it is again. But if you notice, I highlighted it. The star and the ring, or the crown, have the same symbol. And it's the seal of Saturn. Okay? For those of you who've been with me for a while, you know what that is. You get it. For those of you who don't, you're really stepping into this way at the wrong time. Go back about 130 videos ago and maybe you can catch up with us. Okay, so now we've established that the Son of Man is something that looks like a man but isn't totally a man, or it's genetically different than us. All right, let's move on. Okay. Here we are here. What does it say? It says, I wanted to bring this up. This rapture thing. My sister's big on this. There is no rapture. Look up what the word rapture means. Greek, translated as Son of Man. As an idiom for the future human, blah, blah. We went through that already. Let's move on to this. Sorry. Come on. Rapture. People that want or think they're going to have a rapture, they will have a rapture. Rapture, meaning and definition, a seizing by violence, a hurrying along rapidity with violence. Now, on the earth, what group that dealt with DNA in World War II and also had a seizing by violence, a hurrying along rapidity of violence? I don't know. Let me give you a hint-ler. Who was the first one to do experiments with DNA? Let's see. A hurrying along. This is New Testament, Vatican. Rapidity with violence. I wonder. Hitler. I'm just giving you a hint-ler. A seizing by violence. Sounds like something I heard once before from a football game called a blitz, which goes back to a Nazi word or Teutonic word, blitzkrieg. You starting to see a pattern here? Who's really writing this stuff? Let me move on. Revelation 14:15. And then another angel came out of the temple and called in a loud voice to him who was sitting on the cloud, take your sickle and reap. Let's look at the word. Temp, T-E-M-P-U-S, Latin equals time. El, Hebrew for Lord, meaning the Time Lord, Saturn. So, then another angel came out of the temple. So, the angel came out of the temple, out of the Time Lord. He came out of Saturn. He came from Saturn. And was told to take a sickle and reap. In other words, mass murder. FEMA camp? Localized collection of human beings? Supernatural? Not sure. People involved with it? Yeah, people Al Gore and his ilk. Oh yeah, trust me. Trust me. This is all going to play out in a very horrible way. Okay, so we've established that. Now I want to go into this. This is the story where Jesus went to cast out a demon out of a man that was in a, I believe he was in a graveyard. And he went up to the man and he said this. Basically, you know, he wanted to know who these things were. So this is what the Spirit said. Jesus said, "What do I have to do? What do I have to do with you, Jesus, you Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." For Jesus said unto him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." He asked him, "What is your name?" Jesus said to him, the demon replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." The Spirit begged him much that he would not send them away out of the country, meaning this dimension. Now there was on the mountainside a great herd of pigs feeding. All the demons begging Jesus, saying, "Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them." So now you're going from one life form, whatever these things are from Saturn, into another life form. Okay? Okay, and it says, the herd of about 2,000 rushed down the steep banks into the sea, and they were drowned in the sea. Now, why do you think they ran into the sea? Because if we go and we look, you'll find out that in the Old Testament, the abyss is what is known as the sea, and vice versa. So that's where the evil spirits kind of hang around. A lot of them hang around down there, or this other life form that was possessing the man. Okay, but trust me, these other things are still around. So we've already created a connection between the angel Saturn and murder and things that live in the sea that torment man, being the biblical abyss. And if we look here, you'll see that there was a movie in the 90s made by James Cameron, the guy that made the Titanic, called The Abyss. And what it was is they went down because there was a failure with a submarine, that something was messing around with the technology. It crashed, so they went down there to find it, and then they found out that there were other things down there, because that's where the biblical abyss is. It's another entity or entities, which would not surprise me one bit if these are the things that were responsible for wiping out the big portion of the Gulf with the BP. And it was not an oil spill. I don't give a shit who did it. That was done deliberately. Okay, these guys are on a timetable, and when I say these guys, I don't necessarily mean humans, but there are humans involved with these things. Okay, so let's look here. And it just says, it just gives you a rundown of what the movie was, and it just went on to say that there was something else down there. Okay. Now, here's what John Cameron drew, or had his artist draw, of an angel. Okay? This is one of the things that was down there. And it's interesting. If you look at it, it's very nicely drawn, but it has one particular thing that jumped right out at me.